Welcome to the Birds of Forest Lake that I found at and around and on the lake on the 11th of February 2022. This is late summer in Queensland, Australia, and Forest Lake is a suburb of Brisbane. There's some Dusky Moorhens and a couple of crows. There's quite a variety of birds there today. I've included some of the plants at the lake as well as some insects. And there's a pair of swamp hens. The swamp hens look a lot like the Dusky Moorhens, but they do have some differences. In New Zealand, the swamp hens are called pukeko. They've got that purple or blue chest on them, which is why they're often called purple swamp hens. Over the past few months there have been a massive number of birds nesting in these trees and on the ground on the islands in the lake. Most of them have raised their chicks and moved on now. Here's some Dusky Moorhen chicks. There's lots of little fish there in the water. Obviously the fish are breeding successfully as well. That's an adult Dusky Moorhen. It's got the little yellow tip on its beak. You're likely to find the Dusky Moorhens are usually in the water or close to the water, whereas the swamp hens are often wandering around eating grass. That's a swamp hen there. And there, another swamp hen. That's a swamp hen chick. It's a fairly big chick, but it's got a lot of growing to do yet. The swamp hen enjoying a bath. The walk around the lake is about 2.5 kilometres. That looks like a small swamp hen chick coming towards the adult that's just had a bath. That's another view of the islands where the birds were all nesting. It's mainly cattle egrets and intermediate egrets with yellow beaks. Plus a few cormorants and ibis have been nesting in there as well. There were lots of chicks raised, but they seem to have mostly flown off now. There seem to be quite a few more little pied cormorants at the lake now than there were before they all started breeding in those trees. That'd be a Dusky Moorhen chick that's almost grown up. It hasn't quite changed colour yet. Somebody smashed that swallow's nest. You see the little birds darting over the lake catching insects. They're usually swallows or Willy Wagtails. The water level at the lake is very low at the moment, and where these birds are walking is usually several inches deep in water, but it's just mud there today. The reason, I think, is they've been planting lots of reeds around the edges of parts of the lake. There's cockatoos there flying towards me. They're the Sulphur Crested white cockatoos. We'll see them on the ground shortly. The tradition with the cockatoos is one or more birds will sit up high in a tree and watch for predators or danger, and the rest of the flock will get on the ground and eat whatever they can find growing down there. So that's the lookout. That bird that's sitting up there watching, making sure there's nothing coming to catch its friends that are on the ground. We'll have a look at them soon. And here are some of the flock. Just there's bits of fruit and berries and whatever, and nuts and things off the trees on the ground there that the cockatoos are eating. That swamp hen has found something exciting and it's running with great excitement with this thing in its beak. We'll see another one doing that as well later on. There's some Dusky Moorhens. Another view of the lakes in the island from across the other side of the lake. And there's an ibis standing on the island. There are small groups of adult and chick swamp hens at various places around the lake. And the chicks are at different sizes too. They just keep on hatching and some of them survive long enough to grow up. Most don't, I suspect. But you'll see from very tiny chicks just recently hatched to at various stages of their growth. That's a growing chick, but it's not a very tiny one. That is a crested pigeon. They're usually in pairs, but this one seems to be on its own at the moment. And it's also very brave. They normally just fly straight off. You can't get close enough to get a nice photo of them usually. Another swamp hen with a chick. I was watching a travel video on YouTube a few weeks ago, and there was an American couple, and one of them saw a crested pigeon and she was so shocked and surprised and delighted, and she said that it's a pigeon's got a mohawk. I thought that was funny. The swamp hens are just all around the lake. That's a water dragon, Australian water dragon. Oh look, another pair of crested pigeons. I'm not really close to them, but I'm close enough to get a photo, which is not common. That's why I'm happy to have these photos of them and a bit of video. That's a spider lily, just growing next to the lake. And this Dusky Moorhen with some chicks. The Dusky Moorhen chicks are smaller in this group. They're smaller than some of the swamp hen chicks we've seen, but when they first hatch they're all about the same size and it's very hard to tell them apart. But as they get older they get more distinctively looking as their own species. Unfortunately there's a lot of eels in the lake and they absolutely delight in eating the little chicks, so there's a lot more that hatch than survive. The Dusky Moorhen. The Dusky Moorhens are raised in family groups, and the chicks from 1 year will stay with their parents and help raise the new lot of babies. And this was a treat too, to come across the superb fairy wrens. That's the little male with the blue feathers, it's his breeding plumage, and the little brown and cream female. He's usually got quite a few females. Sometimes you find several males together as well. They're sort of competing for a female's attention. They're very quick, you don't usually get many pictures of them. So it was great to be able to get a few of these on this day. They're about to fly off. They're obviously not bothered by me standing there. They know I'm there. There she goes. Just the last few shots of the male. And back with some more swamp hens. You can see the different sizes of the chicks. These are little ones there, and a bigger chick. The swamp hens and the Eurasian Coots are like the Dusky Moorhens. They assist each other with the nest building and with raising the chicks. They're usually seen in fairly large groups around the lake. So that grass stuff that you can see planted there, that is the reeds that they've been planting. They're not standing up properly at the moment. They do grow, they'll be about 6 foot tall and very difficult to see the lake through them. They'll put the water level up when they've finished planting and they feel that it's ready. This lake is an artificial man-made lake. The birds have just moved in, and it's mainly there to catch the stormwater that runs off all the streets in the suburb. And there's a big road, like it's 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, along one end of the lake, and apparently that is a dam. We'll have a look at, there's a flood marker just down there near that road. We'll see that at the end of the video. So this lake's here mainly to protect the suburb from flooding, but the birds seem to like to live there. It recently was published as being one of the most polluted lakes in the state, I think. And I think it's probably just because everything from when it rains, everything just flows in out of the local drains. But the birds seem to enjoy it. They stay there. Sometimes there's lots of birds and sometimes there's not many. On this walk I saw lots of different birds, more than I expected to see. Now this is going to be some fun. There's a swamp hen coming and it's running, and the way it's running, it's got this thing in its beak. I think it's an apple core. There it is. And it's running as though was a little kid. You know, you see a toddler running along going, "Mummy, Mummy, look what I found, look what I found." And it's just running and it's squawking while it's running, and it's so excited. And it keeps dropping it and it keeps stopping to pick it up, and it runs a bit more and drops it again and squeaks and squawks. It's just trying, it's under where it's going. It's obviously going to deliver its find to some other group of swamp hens somewhere, but it's gone now, off it goes. And there's some interesting birds in here too. I just put a circle around it. That's the Comb Crested Jacana. They have got the most incredibly huge feet. Their feet are not webbed, they're just long toes, but they're massive. The toes are about as long as the height of the bird. I was so excited to see that one. You don't usually see them at the lake. Yet Dusky Moorhen had a good look at me. Got to make sure you're not going to chase their chicks. They look after their chicks. This duck just appeared there a few weeks previously, or a few months maybe now, and it vanished again not long after. Now this Dusky Moorhen's building this nest, and I was really worried for it because I know the lake level is low at the moment, and they're going to let water back into it one day. I was hoping that if she fills that nest, it's either high enough or she gets her eggs hatched before they flood the lake with more water. But she's being very busy there. You usually see groups of them helping build the nests. There's another Dusky Moorhen that's near the nest. So I just walked across that bridge. I've now crossed over the other side of the lake. It's quite a few Dusky Moorhens just at this end. You can see the nest there right in the middle of the photo. And that is a grevillea. And another dragonfly. These water lilies are growing all around the lake. Sometimes you see little black insects in them, and it's native bees. And there's also European honeybees as well. Another dragonfly. Another look at that drake. It looks like a drake. I think somebody just dumped it at the lake. Didn't want it anymore. It's not a native bird. It doesn't belong there. Same with these two ducks. At least they were dumped together. And they've been there for months, even years now. Now this is interesting. Another crested pigeon, and they are noisy miners, and they're extremely territorial, and they're wanting to chase this pigeon off. They don't want it there. and some Corellas. That's a Corella feather fell down off that tree. That's the ducks that somebody left here months or years ago now. Surprised that they've stayed. I haven't been to the lake for quite a while now and don't know if they're still there, but they were there for last time I went. There's the Banksia. I'm going to start doing a series based on my drive around Australia, and they'll be able to see much more variety of Banksias. They're plovers or spurred lapwings. They've got sharp spurs on the fronts of their wings and they're very protective of their nests. I was surprised to see them near the water because you'll usually find them on the footpaths. I've even seen them trying to attack the traffic when they've got chicks in their nests on the footpaths. There they go, they're flying off. But I did a bit of research, and before humans were around and putting in roads and cars and things, the lapwings or the plovers preferred to nest next to the water. So those two that we just saw near the water, they're where they really want to be. Another little group of Dusky Moorhens. Now there's 3 ducks together, but I don't think that other pair really have taken to or made real friends with the other poor lonely one. This area's usually got lots of pigeons. I didn't see many there today. Some more of the reeds that they've been planting. Another little dusky moorhen that's not quite grown up yet. There's another plover with a Eurasian coot. Haven't seen many coots around recently on the lake, but sometimes they're there and sometimes there's not many of them there. Sometimes they nest there and you get lots and lots of chicks. When you've got lots of dusky moorhen chicks and coot chicks and swamp hen chicks, they can be very difficult to tell them apart when they first hatch. They look like some tiny chicks of the Dusky Moorhens. There's a better picture of the Eurasian coot. When the Dusky Moorhen chicks first hatch, they've got little claws on the ends of their wings. There's some more Corellas. They're flying. They're very noisy too. And they just fly past in flocks. And the flock is growing. They've obviously nesting in trees somewhere. That's those islands at the end of the lake that we saw earlier. And that is where I'm heading. My car is parked to the left of that enclosure. Now we're getting close to, there it is, that's the flood marker. It marks the depth of the flood water. And there's some Willy Wagtails. You don't usually see 2 of them together like that. And I had a good look at them, and I have a feeling one's bigger than the other. So I think the one closest to the camera might be a chick that's just left the nest. When they first leave the nest, a parent will take them around and show them how to survive in the wild. And I think that might be what's going on there with that pair. And there's a water dragon. And this is the end of the video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please give it a like if you have enjoyed it. And thank you for watching. So I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye for now.